that home's listing price? Yeah, that's not the total price of buying a home. That's right, there are additional fees that are involved when you buy a home, and they are not things you can avoid. Let's dig into those costs so that you can be fully prepared for what to expect in your home buying journey. Hi, I'm Bethany, and I'm a realtor with Keller Williams, and I'm going to tell you what you need to know about buying your first home. So keep listening if you want to make your home buying journey a lot easier. Before you start looking at homes, you need to know what your expenses are going to be, and that should be saved and in the bank before you schedule any showings with your realtor. You don't want to fall in love with a home that you cannot buy because you're not quite there yet on saving up for things. So let's dig in and see what those expenses are. First, we have potential agent commission and agent fees. When you're buying a home, you should be aware of any situation where you could possibly owe your agent payment of any kind for their services. Remember that all agents are going to have different expectations and requirements when it comes to being compensated for their time and their services. As awkward as it might feel for you and maybe even for them, these terms really should be discussed with you up front, and it should be discussed during your buyer consultation. And it also needs to be very clearly spelled out in writing on any agreement that you've signed with them. Next up is our down payment. And down payment is the area where I see the biggest misconceptions from home buyers. With all of the technology and internet access that we have today, a lot of home buyers still think that you need to have 20% down in order to buy a home. Well, I'm here to tell you guys that that is just not true. The options for home buyers today can include 0 down payment to as much as only 5% down. Yes, you heard that right. I said options of 0 to as much as 5%. The best way to find out who offers these programs in your area is to speak with a knowledgeable realtor who is experienced in working with first-time home buyers, and let them connect you with a local lender who's going to offer the right program for you and your home buying situation. Now we have our closing cost and prepaids. Closing costs are fees that are associated with getting a loan and working with an attorney or a title company to buy and close on your home. Closing costs are going to include a laundry list of fees like a survey, an appraisal, credit check and attorney's fees, underwriting fees, discount points if you choose to buy your interest rate down, origination fees, title insurance and title search fees, and any special program fees if you are participating in a loan that has a funding fee or other special charges like that. There are quite a few other small odds and end type fees like overnight fees and flood check fees that are going to get passed along to you. Prepaids are recurring annual expenses that you're going to have as a homeowner, and a portion of those are going to be paid in advance at closing, like some of your mortgage interest, a year's worth of homeowner's insurance, your HOA dues, and also prorated property taxes. These fees are owed and paid at the time of closing, and the combined total of closing costs and prepaids are going to be approximately 3.5% of the purchase price. Your mortgage lender is going to be able to provide you with a more precise estimate of those costs before you make an offer on a home. And there are 2 good things about your closing costs and your prepaids. First, you do have some limited control over the actual cost. Who you use for your homeowner's insurance, for your mortgage loan, and also for your closing agent does play a role in those fees. Now, I'm not advocating that you use the cheapest option out there, but you do need to be mindful of the fees and rates that you're being charged by the people that you're working with. Every lender and every loan program has different fees. And insurance rates are also going to vary from one provider to another. Closing agents, whether it's an attorney or a title company, they're also going to vary by a couple of $100s. The second thing is that it is not uncommon when you're in a neutral or a buyer's market to negotiate for the seller to pay for those expenses for you. So in the right situation, you could avoid coming out of pocket altogether and have the seller cover those costs for you. Your real estate agent is going to be able to advise you on how to structure your offer if you are planning on asking the seller to pay for all or even just a portion of your cost. Escrow fees, earnest money, and potentially due diligence and option fees. When you write your offer, you will be offering the seller earnest money, which is kind of like an initial small security deposit against the purchase of the home that shows how earnest or eager you are to buy the home and play by the written rules of the contract. It's kind of like a promise, like a show of good faith and good intentions from you, the buyer, to the seller to actually follow through and complete the transaction. It may be called something different in your market or in your state. It could be referred to as the escrow money or the escrow deposit, for example. You can reasonably expect your earnest money to be at least $1,000. The amount that you give is going to vary a lot, and it will depend on a combination of things. Some examples would be the price of the home that you're buying, the current real estate market conditions, local norms in your area, the individual preferences and financial ability of the buyer and the seller. The type of financing that you're getting as the buyer can impact your earnest money, and whether or not there are other competing offers on the table. Your realtor is going to do a really great job for you of analyzing your specific situation when you make an offer, and they're going to guide you in how much you should be offering the seller for your earnest money. That earnest money is going to be held in an escrow and trust account until it gets credited back to you on the day of closing. And it's going to be applied to any money that you need to bring for your down payment or closing costs and prepaids that you'll owe on the day of closing. Is there ever a risk of losing your earnest money? Laws are different in every state if the buyer breaks the rules of the contract. So it's really important first to read and understand the contract that you sign and to discuss it not only with your realtor, but also with the licensed attorney if you don't understand it. You should offer just enough earnest money to show the seller that you care and that you're serious, but you don't want to offer enough that you're going to be in a financial bind if something happens and you find yourself potentially losing that earnest money. You may also have an option fee, or some people call it a due diligence fee. This is similar to earnest money, except that in a lot of cases, it's money that you give directly to the seller, and they get to keep that money, regardless of if you actually follow through with the sale or not. And it is to compensate the seller for taking their home off the market and not negotiating with other buyers. And then if you back out after your inspections, they have something to offset any money and time that they have lost while they were under contract with you. Your option fees can vary just like earnest money if that is something that is practiced and common in your area. I think it's safe to expect that an option fee could easily be another $500 to $1,000. And if it's a really hot seller's market with not a lot of inventory, I have heard of option fees being substantially higher than that. So plan ahead. Inspection fees. If you are buying a home, you should be doing inspections to protect yourself. And inspection fees are going to be due and paid at the actual time of service when the inspection is completed. And your inspections usually happen within the first 1 to 2 weeks after you put a home under contract. There are 3 inspections that are going to be a no-brainer for every home, and that will be a general home inspection, a termite inspection, and a heating and air inspection. If the home that you're buying has other special features, like maybe if it's on a well or a septic, if it has a pool or a fireplace, then you will need to be prepared for those inspection fees to go up depending on what else needs to be inspected by another professional. I would expect to see a home inspection fee run around $350 for the average home size, and then about $150 per heating and air unit at the home, and then another $150 for your termite inspection. And you also are probably going to have some extra fees for re-inspections, because if the seller makes any repairs for you, you'll want to bring your inspectors back out and actually confirm that the repairs were made and made properly. And there's probably going to be an extra charge for that. You can expect to see about another $125 per inspector that needs to come out and re-inspect for repairs. Moving expenses. You probably did not even think about planning for the expense of moving. This one sneaks up on a lot of people, so let's just go ahead and work this expense into your plan. The longer the distance that you have to travel for your move and the more paid help that you need, the more expensive it's going to be. To rent a 15-foot U-Haul, that's generally recommended for like a 1 or 2 bedroom household, for 3 days, add in insurance protection, travel, let's say 100 miles total, pay taxes, add in your moving boxes and pads, pay for gas, and move yourself, you're looking at about $700. And that is the affordable option for moving a relatively small household. For a cross-country move, it's going to go up. The average cross-country move is actually $4,300, according to the American Moving and Storage Association. Factors that are going to affect your cost of moving will include the size of your home, the weight of all of your things, how far you need to travel, whether you need paid movers, and how many, if you need moving supplies, if there are any, storage rental fees, and if you're going to be receiving, any moving or relocation help from your employer. Bottom line, whether you're going to move 1 block over or across the country, you need to do your research ahead of time and know how you're going to handle your move and what it's going to cost you. Upgrades and replacements. I feel like I would be letting you guys down if I didn't encourage you to keep planning once you're in your new home. I know that you're going to fall in love with your first home, and you're going to want to take really good care of it because that protects your home's value when you want to sell it one day. Taking care of your home protects the investment of the time and effort and money that you've put into that property. Having an emergency fund for maintenance and repairs is a really crucial thing for all homeowners. Nobody wants to wake up one day and have to take a cold shower, more than one time if the hot water heater dies. And you definitely do not want a roof leak, christening your stuff one day. How much you save really depends on the age and condition of your home, and also, your budget capability. If your home is new or less than 5 years old, it's less likely that you're going to have a need for a major repair or replacement anytime soon. If your home is older and hasn't recently been remodeled or updated, those unexpected repairs and replacements can happen a lot sooner. Experts typically recommend that you save at least 1% of the purchase price of your home every year for repairs and maintenance. So, for example, if you were buying, let's say, a $200,000 home, you're encouraged to save at least $2,000 a year. If you're buying a $150,000 home, you're encouraged to save $1,500 a year. So that's a commitment of, let's say, $125 every month that's going to go into a special emergency account for your home. And then when something breaks, you're going to thank yourself for planning ahead and budgeting. And it will take so much stress and pressure off of you when that time does come. And then you're going to thank yourself again in a few years when it's time to sell your home and you call your realtor over and they tell you what a great job you've done keeping up with things, and also how much money you're going to make when you sell it. While this can all seem very daunting, these costs are completely standard and normal when you're buying a home. And it's really important and crucial to know what they are before you start your search and to plan for these accordingly. In the long run, some of these costs are actually there and they're in place to protect you, and they're worth it, like the inspections. And then some of the other fees are just frankly the cost of doing business when you want to buy a home. If any of this surprised you, be sure to click on the video on your screen now so you can learn more about what other things they're not telling you about buying a home.